Welcome back to Me, Myself, and I, an official confession stand podcasts. I am one of your hosts, Hannah/Spuds.
And I am Sam Swags.
Sam Swags.
And I am Sarah Carbs. You're welcome.
Thank you for remembering it.
You just love it.
Oh my god. All right, Sam, what are we going to talk about today?
We are on episode 13, which is the tail end of A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, and that is going to be chapters 65 through 82.
All right, Carbs, this is your moment to say something witty.
I feel like I'm being treated like a wind-up, coin-operated, like, oh, just be charming and sexy and say something amazing.
Oh, Carbs, don't be such a bone carver right now. Calm down.
Okay, you're being a Samarantha and you're being a Spud Reel, and I am not going to tolerate being insulted on my own show.
Our show.
I mean, a show that I share with you. I will not be insulted on 1/3 of a show. I won't do it. I won't stand for it. Or sit for it, because that's what I'm currently doing.
Where we left off in the last episode, Elaine was just kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
Rescued. And rescued,
yeah. Everything that could go wrong did, and then some.
Because of Farah's savior complex. I wonder where she got that from.
I wonder. You should really get that cough fixed, because you know it's Rhysand.
Sorry, I wasn't clear enough on that. So yeah, this is pretty much the lead up to the epic battle for all that is good and holy.
Finally, I'm just going to say that. Like, I feel like we've been waiting for this to happen for so long.
Spuds, imaginary people died.
I'm sorry, that was very insensitive.
But did they though?
Finally, it happened. I'm so excited. Don't tell Carbs.
What?
So it's just a lot of setup of them just kind of tying their loose ends, counting their troops.
It's always sad right before a battle. It really is. Like, Rhysand and Farah go to Farah's old town and start winnowing humans away. And they even start forcibly winnowing some humans who don't want to go and don't believe them. It's not allowing them to die in the town. So I get that it's for the greater good, but also, like, trauma. Being winnowed away by Fae. Okay, children of the blessed. I'm so afraid.
From living in that area, Farah knows the prejudice against Fae that humans have. And how scary that would be for most of them, aside maybe from the children of the blessed. But
you know, like, take me. Humans still think that Fae can't lie.
Oh, yeah.
That's a thing.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So you would think if Rhysand's here and he's saying there's a war coming, I need to winnow you away for safety, you think that they'd be like, oh, thank you, because they think that Fae can't lie.
Or they would at least think about it before absolutely shutting it down.
Yeah.
They would have that moment of pause, because there were a lot of people that instantly were like, no, get away from me.
Yeah. But it's interesting, though, because I think maybe they had a hard time deciphering who was good Fae and who was bad Fae. But if they don't think that Fae can lie, and you're saying, I'm a good Fae, and I'm going to bring you to safety, why would there still be an immense amount of panic?
Maybe they think it's omitting the truth a little bit. Like, maybe they think, oh, they're only telling us this much, but there could be more that they're not telling us.
I don't think the humans understood the dire situation. Like, if I was woken up in the middle of living in the middle of nowhere to these random people being like, you need to leave, not understanding that the protection of my life was gone. And I'm like, what do you mean? I don't need to go anywhere. Like, we're fine. Oh,
Stupid humans.
The one good thing that happens right before the battle is that Farah and Mor kiss and make up.
This is so dumb.
I really wish you hadn't used those words for that.
This isn't Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It.
But Mor likes it.
Yeah.
It's...
You know what makes me the most mad about this?
All of it?
All of it, yes. All of it. I hated that Mor gave in to Farah's immaturity. I think that's where I'm at, is Feyre should not have been invasive and demanding this completely, I don't want to say random, but for her to justify her stupid actions because Moore is going through her own stuff. And then for Moore to be like, okay, I'll tell you what's the deal with me and Azriel. That's what makes me upset.
You know what? There's so much that makes me upset. I understand that it's so cheap. It's such a cheap way. Like, I don't even know how else to explain it. It's just a cheap throw in to fix a problem in this story. Moore is like, well, I was afraid of telling even the inner circle because I was afraid my family would find out and they would do more things to me and bring more shame and stuff. And it totally just kind of makes you rethink about how close the inner circle actually is then, because they're all supposed to be so intertwined and so like knit together. And also, if you really care about Azriel, he's been pining over you for so long. I already have my feelings about him not getting a hint and just letting it go and being entitled to her. But now you've got this, I'm not even comfortable telling my closest friends that I'm bi. And also, just coming from someone who is bi, that was literally the dumbest way to come out. That is not how people come out. At least, I don't want to speak for every bi person out there.
Teach their own.
But to each their own. But that is just like textbook what straight people think bi people do when they come out.
It does feel like that, doesn't it?
Because it is. It is.
Let me just, because I agree overall. I agree. I don't like, this is definitely a pivot to, I think, the plot that Az and Moore are supposed to be mates. And I actually still think that they are. Based on this, because what I think Sarah J. Maas was trying to do, because I initially, Moore's my favorite character in this series. I was really disappointed. Moore like disappears from this book like onwards. So I'm like really disappointed in the way she was executed. But I listened to this section instead of read it. And the way that it came out in the audiobook recording is that what started as a little white lie to get Az off her back by sleeping with Cassian over Az has spiraled into a 500-year lie, is the way that and I still agree that it's cheap. I don't like the way it's executed, but I think I have a little bit more sympathy for Moore than I did initially, but I still don't like it because she clearly set up Moore and Az to be mates, and I still think they are, but she is bi. She's just not in love with him like that, and I think that's why he keeps hovering.
But the frustrating thing is, like, it's not that I don't have sympathy for her being bi and like the little white lie and all of that stuff. It's just how this was such a flop.
Yeah.
The whole situation, why she brought up that she was bi was because of this dumb argument and then bringing up Azriel, and just this could have been a side story in itself, learning a little bit more about Moore, and this could have been tied earlier into the series when we learn about her history. I don't understand why it had to be brought up right now, and because they got into a fight. I think it's so stupid. It's so dumb, and it totally deflated a lot of people's sympathy for Moore in this situation, because it is hard to come out as anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's very difficult, and especially to your close family and friends. I understand that. But, like, to do it to this person that you've only known for so long because you got into a petty fight, but you can't even tell the person that you've known for 500 years, it just was so dumb.
Yeah.
And I would understand if maybe this could have been a point where maybe there was, like, a low-down secret where Azriel actually knew and he was just protecting Moore, and maybe that's why he hovered and people misconstrued it, but he didn't want to tell anyone that she was bi because of, like, respecting for her. Like, there could have been so much more depth to this story, and it was literally how a straight person views bi people coming out.
I get that vibe from this.
Consult a bi person or, like, someone in the LGBT community.
Swags, didn't you say that at the time Sarah J. Maas was receiving pressure because she didn't have someone who was...
I can't confirm that, but I definitely heard... I can't unsee it now. So while I can't confirm it, I've heard that. And you can see the stark difference between Moore and Azriel's relationship in Court of Mist and Fury and the immediate pivot with the inclusion of not only people of color, but also the LGBTQ community in book 3.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, this is also, isn't this when we find out about Sand's partner?
And Nafel is also a lesbian.
Mhm.
So this is our third. They're jam-packed in here. Like,
Yep.
This is our third
Which,
gay
don't
couple.
get me
Well,
wrong.
gay or bi or that LGBTQ.
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm so for inclusivity, but if you're going to do it, at least do it right or thoughtfully. You know? Talk to some people in the community before you write about the community.
Yeah, you'd think.
Meet the community.
Yeah. Or, like, maybe meet one person who's in the community. And ask them what their coming out story was. Just to see. I don't know. It just...
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it cheapens Moore's overall character.
Yeah, it really does, because she is such a strong character, and there's also this beautiful dynamic between her, Cassian, and Azriel, and all of a sudden now she just seems kind of, I don't want to say selfish, because I don't think it's selfish for someone not to come out, but it just seems very weird.
Also, we don't really know what the attitude is towards the LGBTQ in this world.
Yeah.
It's kind of spotty. It seems like...
Yeah.
I think it's kind of similar to the U.S. You have your cities, or you have your courts, you have your communities, but it's kind of 50-50 on whether it's accepted as a whole, I think.
Yeah.
It's also, God, what was I about to say? It, like, went through my head. That, like, really bothered me about it.
I don't like the Helion part of this. If she supposedly is bi, but prefers women, which that's not an issue inherently, but she looked miserable after sleeping with Helion. That just, like,
yeah,
it's
seems
very
more like
weird
she's
to
lesbian.
me.
But you know what it is? It's that cheap writing. It's like, oh, I have to cover this up, where she wants her to be a lesbian, but she's already wrote all these things that Moore has done in the past books.
Right. And I think that's because, like, when we were making our notes and talking about it, we kept saying lesbian, 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 even though she identifies as bi.
Yeah.
Well, and she very clearly was like, I get pleasure from men, but I prefer women. And, like, yeah, same here. But, or, like, mine's like, I prefer men, but I get pleasure from women and stuff. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't know.
But she clearly didn't from Helion. And that just, like, I guess that disconnect of that action and then that description is what's throwing me off. And also cheapening this coming out story for me.
It all just seems so weird.
Yeah.
And not weird that she's bi. It was just so poorly written.
I would have also been okay if we didn't do this in this book. Like, if we're like, I would have been okay if this didn't be addressed. This feels very slapdash.
Yeah, like this could have been part of Moore's story.
Yeah.
Later on, if you needed to write it in, she could have taken the time to write it. She, like Lucian, I feel like in this specific book, have become the answers to unresolved questions.
Ooh, more Lucian. I kind of like that idea.
Well, no, but like even how Lucian, we'll talk about it throughout the section where he conveniently comes with Vasa, who also happens to be with Dad, and like Draken and Miriam and stuff, and more conveniently solves her problem that everyone's been wondering about by just coming out as bi and stuff. It's just it's okay.
Just to play devil's advocate, if Sarah J. Maas were to have kept this fight between Feyre and Moore, taking out the Azriel bit, what would it have been about? Would it have just, like, ruined that whole storyline? Like,
no, they should have gotten over their shit in the battle. Gotten over their fight in the battle when, like, one of them was about to die.
Well, the problem is Moore had the upper hand in this fight that was precipitated by this because Rhysand was being a Feyre was being
same thing.
A self-serving sacrificial asshole. But I think Sarah J. was like, well, we can't have Feyre be like, we can't have Feyre be not liked and the enemy in this, even though she did something stupid. So we're just gonna throw this in Moore's direction because we really want to know what Moore's deal is. And
why did she do that again? I already forgot what her reasoning was.
It's because Feyre told Moore, like, oh, go run off and fight. We'll
and
be
Moore was
fine.
mad.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have an idea of how she should have written it.
Oh, go ahead.
So how she should have written it was in the battle, Feyre saying more to stay right here, and more goes off and does the thing, like does something that puts her in danger, and Feyre loses it, and then more turns around and is like, oh, so you don't like it. When I you know what I mean? Like it could have been something like that.
Yeah.
And then the buy stuff could have come way later. But it should have happened in the battle.
Yeah.
I like that.
Where it was like where Feyre's like looking for the cauldron with Amryn, and all of a sudden Moore's like, she looks over and Moore's like next to the cauldron or whatever. Like there could have been something like that to just be like, see, Feyre,
see how you like it.
Yeah. Would have been funny.
But
I love that.
I have a question though about one last thing about Moore's sexuality before we move on. She mentions that her first lover was human.
Yes.
And a queen.
Mm-hmm.
So her lover, her lover's descendant is Vasa, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's so crazy to me.
Oh,
you didn't get that?
no.
Yeah,
I didn't,
wanted to double check.
I didn't catch that.
I wanted to make sure that I didn't catch it the first time I read it either, and then rereading, I was like, oh, she's referencing Vasa, that she sees the spirit of her lover in that descendant. So I think that was a little fun call out because Moore does not name Vasa by name in that section, just the golden haired one. And I wanted to confirm.
Wait. The golden hair one, wasn't that the pretty young one?
That's Vasa.
Mm-hmm.
No, but that wasn't the same. That was
The one who was beheaded?
yeah. Wasn't she the golden haired one?
I could have sworn that it was her and they brought her back through the cauldron.
Yeah, I thought they brought her back.
Yeah, she was brought back from. They brought her back through the cauldron.
No, there was another one who went in the cauldron and turned into an old lady.
But that's not Vasa.
What?
That was just one of the Vane queens who wanted.
There was another queen that Vasa was the one trying to stop it all.
It's so over the top. I'm sorry.
Vasa was the one that was trying to help the Fae the whole time.
But Vasa was not at the meeting.
No.
She was at the first meeting, not the second one.
She wasn't at the second one because she was beheaded.
That was the one that Moore said hi to and she went up to was Vasa?
No. It's okay, Cards.
There's a lot of queens to keep track of.
Okay, well,
So,
I'll get into this.
Vasa came to the first human meeting.
She did?
Yeah.
I thought they said that one queen didn't come. She was sick.
That was the second time. They said she was sick, but when they got back to Valaris and the adder attacked, that's when they dropped her body there.
And that was Vasa?
Yeah, and then they put her in the cauldron and brought her back as punishment.
Oh.
There's that realization.
That was Vasa?
Yes.
Damn. Okay.
She's been through the ringer.
Poor kid.
All right.
Did not catch that. No.
Clearly.
There's 6 of them. Come on, give me a break, man. There's like a hot one, an old one, a golden haired.
The dead one that's now alive.
The dead one that's alive, the live one that's super old, like, but looks or like feels young. Fuck.
So after spending the evening saving as many humans and sending them to the summer court to Adriata, the night before the battle, Feyre decides to pull one more trump card out of her behind to try to help them win the war. What does she do?
The Ouroboros.
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 The Ouroboros. That is the trump card.
The trump card.
Homegirl does it. I have another question because I have seen, so in the Ouroboros, she sees this like beast. So it's pretty much making her see every ends of herself, good, bad, ugly. And she's like having this traumatic moment about it, but she survives it and like no one else has. The beast that she personifies as her like inner, because that's essentially what it is, right? The beast is like her inner person, her inner demon, her deepest, darkest secrets.
I think I know where you're going with this.
The fan art I've seen, low-key looks like Tamlin.
I was just gonna say that.
I haven't seen any.
It's like this sort of.
You see that too,
yeah,
right?
It was the color.
But a little bit
different.
of like Rhysand too, some of his like beast-like features. It's really interesting.
I felt that it was slightly more feline, which is where I got the Rhysand. I'm sorry, the Rhysand sort of characteristics.
Yeah.
But I did think of Tamlin. I did the first, like, to me, it almost was like a bobcat or like a mountain lion, something like that. But with those sort of characteristics, the like horns and stuff that.
Yeah, the horns and the claws.
Yeah.
You know what I pictured it as? I pictured it as her in animal form as the hunter in the winter from the first book, like as if she were the one, like a beast hunting the wolf. Like whatever could take down that type of wolf, I feel like it was all encompassing.
Yeah, I mean, and essentially that's what it looks like. If you see, like, you can look up fan art. It's really interesting because I instantly thought of Tamlin when I saw that, which is interesting because I think to an extent, like, her love of Tamlin brought out what she thought was the best, but also the worst of her in killing that fae, like right off the bat in the first couple chapters of the first book.
What?
It literally looks like the Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Are we surprised?
No.
Full circle on the Beauty and the Beast theme in this series? Never. So yeah, I definitely think that Beast is a mix of her two important lovers, but
it's interesting. Well, and Tamlin, she changed a lot and she grew a lot with Tamlin.
She also wouldn't be who she was without
Tamlin. Yeah.
Can I just throw this out there as we're talking on this subject? I'm sad that Feyre's identity is pretty much just her trauma from Tamlin and now her reuniting with Rhysand, and that's like all she's known for.
You know, Feyre reminds me. There's this scene in Parks and Rec.
Yes.
Oh no, I was going to talk about Anne. I was going to talk about Anna and
Yes, from Parks and Rec.
Yeah, and what's her last name? Jeez. Well, Anne, from Parks and Rec, and there's that scene where she talks about like how she's adopted all of her boyfriend's personalities. Like she had the cowboy phase and the flannel Andy phase and the exercise.
Feyre.
Yeah,
that is
Feyre.
So after Feyre thinks she has her ace in the hole for this fight, they are ready to go.
Well, no. Ouroboros.
Yeah, we should wrap up on that.
Yeah, the Ouroboros is a request from the bone carver. She gives it to the bone carver, and he's like, psych, I never really needed it. I just wanted to make sure that you could do this and that you were worth
saving
because and she
gets all mad about it, and I'm like, girl, like, honestly, she can because she's so petty, but can anyone blame the bone carver for being like, I don't know if this chick can do it?
But she was like literally coming back to her body. She spent hours dealing with that beast. So if I was like reliving every trauma in my life, this guy's like, JK, I didn't need it.
I mean,
I'd be mad too.
Sam, we did just spend like 900 pages dealing with Feyre's pettiness. I feel like we deserved this.
We deserve to see her like vomiting and crying for an hour.
And we just needed her to take a good long look at herself. I really don't hate Feyre. I'm sorry. She's just really super annoying.
I think ultimately with Feyre there is something relatable about her. There is these tendencies we all have and struggle with that we can see in Feyre.
But it bothers me because Nesta is one of the most annoying characters in the entire season, but she knows she's annoying and just owns up to it. Feyre's like, I'm not annoying. I'm a high lady. You're like, shut up, Feyre.
She certainly is leaning into her new role for sure, but
she fell into it. She had body slammed, WrestleMania moved.
Yeah, she's like
jumped off the top.
She's like, these are my people, these are my ears, deal with it. Like
it's like, you've been here for 2 minutes.
You've been here 2 minutes, girl. Calm down. Calm down.
She made it to the front of the line.
Were you guys?
And is like, this is my time.
Were you guys expecting the bone carver to be a different body when he came onto the field? I was kind of expecting him to still be the little kid.
Honestly, I was just sad.
And like whooping ass as a little kid.
I was kind of sad that he was tied to a fae body because I think it's so interesting about him is that everyone sees him as like they would see him. And so I think it'd be really cool if instead of attaching him to a fae body, if we were able to get different points of view and someone looks over and they're like, why is so-and-so fighting this person? They're like, oh, it's the bone carver.
And I think it would have been a more strategic tactical move from a military standpoint to see, like, if you were to see, like, a little kid or
That was my thought.
a dead family member, like, walking up to you and you're like, what's happening? And then dawn.
Yeah, no one's going to recognize this random fey body.
And everyone's going to see it differently and some people are going to react differently.
Sorry. Like, can you imagine, like, the Highburn army and then just some dude, like, named Chad? Like, why am I going to be afraid of this guy? He's wearing a freaking fedora. Like,
and then he murders everybody.
And then he murders everybody.
Another missed good writing plot.
Oh, yes, yeah. You think it should have been the kid?
I think it should have been what people see the bone carver as. I don't think he should have been tied to a fey body.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would have been.
Like, it would have changed per person.
Because also, I'm just going to throw this out there. We obviously knew they were going to win the battle.
Mm-hmm.
We knew this.
Right.
But it seemed like everything just. Because they get to the battlefield and Feyre's like, Rhysand, I just wanted to let you know I've been thinking about what I should get you for our mating gift. Surprise, glamour, bone carver, Bryaxis. And he's like, oh, sweetie, you beat me to the punch. Boom, Weaver. And you're like, okay.
It's almost an assumption I made because Feyre led Ianthe and the guards into the Weaver's cottage. Like, in my head, that meant that the Weaver is on board.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
And Rhysand's like, by the way, I did this. It's like, no, Feyre she did that.
Yeah, no. I mean,
and like, even, you want to talk about, what is your writing? Some way that she could have written it was like, so Feyre spent all this time at the Ouroboros, and if they started the battle without Feyre, that would have been really cool. Feyre coming last minute, and she's like, exhausted and defeated because she's just had to look at her innermost like demons, and then all of a sudden halfway through the battle she doesn't even know if the bone carver, because he could have left her at that final word where like, I didn't even know if you were worth saving or whatever, and not know that he's coming, and then he shows up and she's surprised by it and she's like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it just was too predictable.
Yeah, I think so.
So she goes to the Ouroboros, she comes back, and then we do just go straight to battle.
Yeah,
they have, like,
pretty
a little mini
much.
pep talk. And Rhysand's like, I love all of you guys, and blah, 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 blah.
I would have waited 1,000 years for you to have this time.
Oh, yeah. That
was such a sad.
It was nice. It was nice. It was nice.
Loved it.
It was very sweet.
Saps.
We are.
I'm ready for battle.
Yeah, girl.
Let there be blood. Surprise, everybody dies. Okay, anyway. So they picked this huge grassy green area to battle it out on.
Highburn did.
Well, when I say they, I mean Highburn. But like, so they're in this grassy field and they're each just kind of standing, and it reminds me of Civil War times where they all just like stood there staring at each other waiting for one person to shoot or scream something.
Or the cannons going first.
Yeah, and like the drummer or something, they send one drummer boy out and he gets shot, and then it's like, battle, let's go.
Oh my gosh.
But they have these shields up, and so all of the High Lords are just shooting the shield with all of this power, trying to break it down. And that's when Feyre's like, honey, I have a present for you. The shield breaks, and boom, Bone Carver was glamored. So was Bryaxis.
Bryaxis.
And then Bryaxis. And then Rhysand's like, oh, I had a favor too. Boom. Weaver. That you technically got, but I'm going to take credit for.
Weaver, can you see her? Yeah, great mating gifts. Hopefully they'll survive. I mean, they do, but like... What a weird mating gift, but you know what, to each his own. They're both weirdos. You know, I think this battle should be called the Great Reveal, because it really is just, oh look, here's this, oh look, here's this, oh my lord, here's this. Like,
things are happening. Oh my gosh,
this is not a well-written battle sequence,
which is so crazy because I had the opposite reaction to Throne of Glass.
I know, right?
I love that we said it at the same time. But like, so if I could not have imagined, because I read it out of order. I did pretty much ACOWAR and Crescent City in tandem, and Throne of Glass came later. So I remembered, like, and Throne of Glass is much more like that epic, like, story and like battle heavy compared to ACOWAR. So I was like, yes. And I was like, or when I saw the battles coming up, I was like, ooh. I was like, if this is anything like ACOWAR, like, this is gonna be rough.
Yeah.
But it was so good. And I'm like, why was this not what was happening in the ACOWAR series in ACOWAR?
I got screwed because I read Crescent City Book 1 first, Throne of Glass, then ACOWAR. So I already had the epic battle at the end of Crescent City Book 1, and then Throne of Glass. And now I'm here.
No, the Crescent City was dope. That was really dope.
Well, yeah, I guess I read Crescent City first, then most of ACOWAR, Crescent City 2, then the rest of ACOWAR. So yeah, but yeah, I like, this book just dragged for me. Even the fight battle at Adriata and stuff was really slow for me. And Throne of Glass was just so good. I just don't understand why that didn't carry over.
Yeah, I don't understand. And it's crazy because there was so much stuff going into this battle.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Okay, we should just go ahead and get into the battle. So pretty much in the battle, the shield goes down and all hell breaks loose now that Bryaxis, the Bone Carver, and the Weaver are going. Hybern's kind of shaking in his little boots. And the first victory is kind of on their side, Feyre and Rhysand, because the High Lords are dominating, the Illyrian warriors are going up, they've got the 3 unnatural beast creature things that are just like annihilating the Hybern army. And when I say Hybern army, he has more beasts on his side, like the Ador, he has like the Naga, their bogies.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're just kind of going down, and then all of a sudden Feyre, Amren, and Nesta, their job is to find the cauldron through this battle. And their game plan is that when everything kind of reaches its peak in battle and Hybern's super distracted, they will go out and find it and use it to win the battle.
The 4-mate Fae, right? So the original plan was Feyre, the Archeron sisters, and Amren were going to do it to try to even out the power so that no one was... Because it almost killed Feyre the first time she touched it.
Right.
But that's not how it happened, is it?
No. Well, and so the first kind of loss that they experience is Hybern pulls out the cauldron and it just sends destruction in its path. And Nesta kind of calls it beforehand and tells Cassian, it's kind of sweet.
Nesta and Elaine, Nesta specifically, but Elaine are affected by the use of the cauldron. They feel it, specifically Nesta, and she saves Cassian. And kind of incapacitates them.
She can kind of feel it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine's like vomiting and stuff. And so this is the first, I'm going to call it throughout the battle wins and losses, like victories and losses. This is the first loss to Rhysand and Feyre because they just lost a lot of people. This is also when the Bone Carver dies, which...
Questionable,
because I didn't think he could die.
That's a discussion for another podcast. No spoilers here, but I'm not convinced.
Does anyone really die?
He was very his fascination about the afterlife makes me wonder if it's actually an afterlife or if it is something bigger than himself,
like almost like a metamorphosis.
Possibly.
Or like going back into his original world or something like that. There's so much talk later on of different worlds and tears in the universe. And one thing that we should also know that, just a reminder in case you forgot, because I did, that if the cauldron breaks, that is what their world is tied to. So if the cauldron breaks, their world breaks and they will no longer exist. Just a little side note, if you forgot, I did. Easy to forget.
Important for the rest of this section.
Yeah. Very important that the cauldron doesn't break.
Right.
But luckily, Sarah J. Maas really loves happy endings. So the things that she has already stated cannot happen, or if they happen, detriment will happen, is all a lie. Because things that can't die, die.
Things that should break, die don't die.
Things that break,
fix.
It's fine. I'm not mad.
But you're not happy.
Yeah.
And also, we should mention how during all of this, Rhysand has grounded, quite literally, Azriel from battle because he was so badly hurt the first round of it all.
No. So his wounds predominantly were from being attacked getting Elaine.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
yes.
that's why he couldn't fly, but he
That's
could
what
do
it was.
combat.
I will never, and the podcast episodes show that I can't keep track of which Bat Boy's wings are in shreds in it.
They both get bad.
It's back and forth.
Dude, it's just I hate to think about it this way because of the whole like wings being so sensitive, and it's just like so people keep stomping on their dicks like nobody's business. It's like instead of kicking them in the balls, like no, I'm going for the
Arrow.
wings. Like they will
And Ash
never.
arrow through the wing.
It's always like no, they're metaphorical penises. No. Because that's always what I think, no matter what's like,
Well, yeah, 'cause
oh,
wingspan and all that stuff.
yeah. Well, because it's like, because Rhysand talks about how sensitive they are. Like, more sensitive than testicles, I guess. But okay,
Don't
whatever.
talk about the bad boys like that. They have feelings. They are more sensitive.
They are sensitive babies.
Yeah, they are big,
Illyrian
sensitive,
babies.
fatty babies. So, I'm sorry. That's all I can think about, just getting their dick stomped.
God.
So, Rhysand and Azriel were duking it out over whether he could fly or not. And
Rhysand fighting about one of his top warriors not going to battle. What?
What's he gonna do?
I feel like he spends most of his time telling his warriors not to fight. What
so
type
that
of
he
high
can do
lord?
it himself.
Like, what type of high lord looks at all of his top commanders like, you know what? You should sit this one out. It's like, I'm pretty sure it said no lord ever.
Like, all the other people fighting and giving lives, they're gonna be totally cool with you sitting up here playing your Game Boy. Like, oh my goodness. But before Azriel departs, he entrusts Elaine with Truth Teller, which is his little dagger sword thingy.
And it never misses its target, allegedly.
Allegedly.
So the
With Sarah J. Maas, we don't know.
Nothing worked out allegedly in this book.
Everything that you think you know is a lie. Because fairies can lie, and so can Sarah J. Maas.
Yes. So for all we know, this is just a kitchen knife. Like,
Or like Amryn with Pharaoh, and she gave her the jewels and was like, "This will give you the power to do this." And she comes back, she's like, "Yeah, it actually didn't do anything.
It's
You
just-
had the,
it's
you
just
had the
an-
power all along."
it's a necklace that was regifted to me.
Like something else that will be regifted later on. Azrael.
We're gonna work on that cough, Spuds.
Anyway, so they suffer their first loss with the cauldron, and then they have a win because Baron from the Autumn Court and his armies, Tamlin from the Summer Court and his armies, and Jurian from the humans all come at the same time.
Tamlin's the spring court, though.
Oh my bad. Whatever. Who cares?
Dude, I was just seeing Tamlin with like two guys. Like,
Half the ship.
and they're like these skinny interns. Like,
Barely through basic training.
Jurian coughs, his eye pops out, he has to pop it back in. Reporting for duty, sir.
Jurian's with Grayson. So we got the humans. That's not gonna do any good in these magic fights. But you know what? Numbers.
That's all I need.
Can't hurt. And we're pretty pissed at Grayson, so if he dies in this, that's cool.
For Elaine.
And then Hybern's army comes on the water, and that's a loss. But then Draken and Miriam, who we've never met before, come on the battle with their dad, who's been missing this whole time at work making bear things.
The Archeron dad making bear things got 3 ships plus an armada. and
Miriam and Dracon.
Miriam and Dracon.
And Lucian.
And Lucian. And Vasa.
Who would have thought that all those people would come at the same time?
I feel like this whole battle just went from like high highs and low lows. Like, no, we're losing. This is not going to work. Oh, great. There's more people. Oh, we're losing. We're losing. We're going to die. Oh, look, who's this?
I remember the first show of the Bone Carver and the Weaver and Braxius being there and being like, "Oh, this is so epic." And then when like Baron and Tamlin and Jurian got there, I was like, "Oh, okay, this is cool." And then when their dad got there, I was like, Come on, Sarah J. Maas.
I know, dude.
This is not realistic at all.
No, it was so...
Save him for another battle.
Like, where the hell is their dad getting, like, an entire naval
Because
fleet?
he's rich from Tamlin.
And bear figurines. Like, we don't really know what the hell he's been doing for the past, 3 months?
This is the father who's literally done absolutely nothing for these girls, and all of a sudden is coming back to repay his duty just to get murdered. And then all of a sudden Nesta forgives him.
Not only is Daddy Archeron, he arrives and his I'm sorry gift is naming the 3 lead ships after the daughters.
Oh,
So
wow.
there's an Elaine.
Thanks for being like deadbeat dad. I'm so
diligence
glad
there.
that you came to battle.
There's an Elaine, a Feyre, who's not even at the front. It's the Nesta that's at the front where her dad is at. What do you think? Do you think that was her dad's way of being like, I know I screwed up, and
100%.
I know you hate me, I hope this helps?
I feel like he should apologize to Feyre the most. She actually put her life on the line.
Like how like I'm sorry if I was Feyre, like the high lady of the court. Hey, your ship's way in the back, man. What's
You're fighting with my army, the High Lady over here. So funny.
You know,
You know?
I was rooting for Daddy Archeron to be somehow tied to Hybern and like be
How
on
so?
that side. I don't know. I was rooting for that.
Oh
Yeah, like when I was reading the book, I was like, I have this suspicious feeling that Daddy Archeron is like plotting with Hybern or doing something because he's always going away and he wants nothing to do with his daughters.
Mhm.
So I honestly was texting Sam all the time reading it, and I was like, I just got a bad feeling about Daddy Archeron. And then when he came here, I was so disappointed.
That would have been really interesting.
I know. I should write a book or something.
That would have been really, really interesting. Because it is weird, and maybe this is just an oversight for Sarah J. Maas, where it's like I don't know what to do with this character, but I can't have him interfering, so I'm just gonna send him off, and we're not gonna worry about him until we
bring
need
him back at a pivotal moment.
backup.
And then kill him.
You know what it is? It's this whole like family reunion type thing that's happening in the middle of the battle, and it's so cliche. Whereas, also, I just assumed that this battle would be numerous battles. And I feel like the only other battle that we've really had with Hybern that we've experienced was the attack on Valaris.
Well, and Adriata.
And Adriata.
Yeah.
But we weren't even really there for that.
I mean,
Yeah, that was just kind of.
we were there,
over.
and then
We weren't.
Feyre astral projected into Rhysand's brain. So, or mine.
We were there and then we weren't, and it
And
was
then we
over. So yeah, it wasn't like a true battle for us that we experienced.
I don't know.
And
It just
so-
seems weird for the buildup of this book.
Right.
Yeah.
We talked about this, Sam. It's just it's not my favorite battle sequence I've
What was
ever
it?
read.
Also, how many chapters is this? Like,
It's like 7 or 8. It's a lot.
Oh, I was gonna say that's nothing for an actual battle. You know what I mean? Like in the grand scheme of this book is 82 chapters, and the battle takes up 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's all jam packed. It does feel very
Feels rushed.
compressed. Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like what Sarah J. Maas is doing is she's like trying to open up all of these doors so she has them to pull forward in the future. So we got Draken and Miriam, we've got Vasa, we've got Lucian back and Jurian. Like we have all of these potential things that we can do.
So you know what's so interesting?
Yeah.
I read it the complete opposite, that she was closing all these doors
Oh, I read it.
so
as
that
she
she
was-
could move on.
Rereading it, I see it as open doors. now.
Yeah. That was my thing. Is like, okay, I need some new content because I ain't gonna follow Feyre's gray ass. Like I want a lot of possibilities and openings for the next things because this is running a little stale. She has a bad habit of writing herself into a corner. Where
I agree with that.
especially with relationships, and she does it very quickly. Rhysand and Feyre are already at this stage where we're kind of bored with them.
And she ruined the mystique around more.
But yeah, she has a bad habit of getting into these corners and then she's like, okay, I gotta open up all these windows and we're gonna just have all these possibilities open.
And everything that I said couldn't happen in the past and all these rules. I'm just
Right.
gonna break all of them.
Oh, that I think with
That's
the
what it is,
end of
breaking
this
the
book.
rules that she made.
Right. With the end of this book, she broke all the rules. And it really bothered me because it just was like, oh, I could do what I want. I'm the author. Not that she has that ego about her, but
And just wasn't creative in unbreaking the rules.
right.
Yeah. like a play on words, be like, oh, I said this, like stay with the High Lord. That was the perfect way to break the rule.
Yeah.
All of these other ones broke, and you're kind of like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so let's move forward to get to that point. So Daddy Archeron arrives, and this whole time we have to remember that the original plan was for the Archeron sisters and Amren to sneak to the cauldron to distract while there's a distraction. Well, all these surprise people popping up is a great distraction.
Mm-hmm.
But Elaine's kind of incapacitated. And then on the flip side, and Nessa is too, to an extent, but Nessa comes up with an idea to distract Hybern further and play bait with Cassian.
Mm-hmm.
Which
is cool.
No one was happy with. Everyone was really upset, including me.
But they just were like, look, dude, you got any better ideas? Or he's just like, never mind, we're going. So
Azriel's given the cue to fly since Cassian's gonna go run off and play bait.
Right.
Well, and it's just Amren and Feyre.
Yeah, just Amren and Feyre, while Cassian and Nesta go off to distract Hybern specifically.
So Amren and Feyre make their way to the other side where
and have to trek up a cliff.
To get to the cauldron. On their way up there, they see that the Weaver has made her way to Hybern somehow.
Yeah, and she's kind of slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Tired.
So, and
carrying the army.
I was kind of thinking, because there's this, I don't want to say it's romantic, but he's like really admiring her for a minute. Like, oh, you're one beautiful creature or something like that.
She's also just dripping in blood from her mouth and stuff, which is all the stuff Hybern loves. Just these beastly, evil creatures.
Well, and by consuming all those people, she's reverse aging herself too. So who knows how young.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so who knows, like, she's probably in this youthful form that nobody has, like, truly witnessed, because people probably know better than to go to the Weaver's
cottage. Oh my gosh,
cottage.
what if she's like a child?
Like some 14-year-old?
Okay.
Oh, gross.
That's not what I was imagining, but alright.
Well, I didn't until you said youthful, but I was like, oh no.
Yeah, is it some
like an old craggy old lady in her little spindle?
She ate a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's what
like some Benjamin Button bullshit.
Like crawling up the hill.
Yeah, she's a baby.
Goo goo gaga. I'm just a baby.
Okay.
How many memes can we bring up in this one?
But yeah, Hybern kills her. Well, we don't know that actually, because she is a death god, and he
snaps her neck.
He snaps her neck, which wouldn't kill her, and Sarah J. Maas notes that in the book. But
she gets thrown to the Naga.
The Naga and torn apart. So we don't know what that would do to a death god. I'm told gods are immortal. I watched Hercules as a kid, so I don't really know how that works. So
you have an education.
Yeah, I have a formal education. And then again, with like the bone carver, is he really dead? Even though he like disintegrated into like a puff of smoke, like, which I think would be pretty hard to come back from. Yeah. Likewise, being torn to little bits and pieces by a beast.
Yeah, but these things were also not always attached to a physical form.
That's
like I would just assume that they become like Braxius, just shadows.
Yeah, just shadows. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'd fall for that. Yeah. I wonder. We don't really know this, but I wonder what Rhysand's what Rhysand's pact was with the Weaver.
Oh.
Because we don't know what he gave her
to come.
Yeah.
So we're getting close to the cauldron. Amren and Feyre just saw the Weaver go, and Hybern is being lured by
Nesta and Cassian.
So Amren opens up the book, and she's like, Feyre, you should take hold of the cauldron now. So Feyre's holding on. It's very painful and difficult. We learned that in Mist and Fury.
Earlier.
Yeah, Mist and Fury. And then Amber just shuts the book and is like, sorry. don't be mad, okay?
I'm still mad for you, Feyre.
I was pissed.
Really? I thought it was kind of funny.
I'm still annoyed.
I think
honestly, you know what it is?
I think you're just mad at Feyre.
No, I loved it because it was the one point that I didn't expect coming.
So instead of duking it out with Amren, Feyre astral projects, and she's kind of watching everything.
I don't think she has a choice.
Yeah, like the sort of she's the cauldron sort of takes her soul, body, consciousness, whatever. And she's seeing everything. So she's seeing Rhysand flex his monstrous, like, true self. And he's all claws and badass, and Helion too. I think all the High Lords sort of go through their own transformations. Tamlin turns into his furry beastie mode and whatnot. And then, of course, Jurian is fighting with Draken on the field in the middle of the battle, like their own personal squabble.
They're literally on the same side, but they just have to finish out this 500-year-old, like, blood feud.
Hey, bud, sup? All right, let's do this. Like,
I'm here for it.
Been waiting for you.
I wonder what Miriam's doing. Like,
I think she was part of that.
she was fighting Jurian?
Maybe not in that moment, but I was under the impression that she joined in, or was aware of it, at least.
I'm sure she was aware of it. I don't remember her presence.
My gut was saying she was part of it, but now I don't know.
Mm.
This is so interesting. So the Cauldron was looking for Nesta because it's angry at Nesta for taking from her, or from it.
Yeah.
From them. But it, like, adores Elaine.
It's weird.
And it wants to give Elaine more.
Like the rest of the Archeron family, it's baby and protect Elaine the entire time.
Sam just sent me a TikTok that this girl did about, predominantly she talked about Elaine's character development.
Yeah.
And she basically was like, there's a reason why Elaine is this blank slate, and that's because badassery is on the horizon.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? I almost appreciate it more after watching this battle because it is giving her an opening to not have to break her own rules.
Right. I agree.
Well, and I feel like it's paving, you know, when we get into the ship wars, going into the next couple books, I forgot how prominent it's not even a relationship yet, but her dynamic with Asriel is.
Yeah.
What I really appreciate rereading this is how, whether it's going to be a romantic relationship or platonic or whatever, I think seeing Asriel and Elaine together, they're very much two birds of a feather. And I'm really excited to see her evolution once, you know, now that she's a little bit more comfortable in her Fae body and environment. And Asriel's, I think, really taken with Elaine too, and that's really fun to watch.
Yeah.
The dynamic is just really refreshing compared to all the others, because you have the fire and the passion of, like, the butting heads of, like, Nesta and Cassian.
And Feyre and Rhysand to an extent.
They're a little bit of both, though. I feel like Feyre and Rhysand are kind of in the middle, where it's they're like
smoldering.
Enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
Well, they still were.
Yeah.
Enemies.
But, like, Asriel and Elaine just instantly gravitated to each other.
Yeah.
They're
kind of the way the
outcasts.
rest of them have.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's because they both are mourning the loss of a love.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Oh, yes.
I still wish Azrael was gay.
See, that makes sense. Or bi. I think that would make sense in this dynamic, too. I agree with you on that. If she was going to do any character that's, I guess, straddles the line, because Asriel's so mysterious. Yeah, I think Asriel would have made a lot of sense.
Because we also really don't know much about him.
Right.
Which is just a whole other tangent. Like, I can't, like, that's the one, I think, thing that's driving me crazy that I think is going to be the downfall of these next couple books, is how much fans have projected onto Asriel.
And Elaine.
Yes.
And Gwen.
And the opposite. And Gwen. And Emery.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know of Gwen, so.
But it's so frustrating, because I think, as fun as it is to theorize and, like, look into the dynamics and stuff, I think a lot of people are about to be really disappointed when Sarah J. Maas is like, no, this is who these people are, this is their dynamics, this is their relationships. And I'm really nervous about how it's all going to shake out, because I think we're all setting our own expectations, and we're not thinking, I think, logically the bigger picture of what's evolving.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be happy. Like, I genuinely don't. With whoever Elaine ends up with, Lucian, Asriel, and it's kind of like with Asriel and more with this thing that they're just not talking about, and it's been dragged out too long. But
that problem was because it was dragged out way too long.
Right. But it likewise, you know, we're now in the fourth book. Well, we're heading into the fourth book, or
the novella.
3.5. And we're not going to get any resolution in that. again, it's just going to be like this unsaid, unspoken thing.
If anything, I feel like this is a good learning experience for the people of the world, that you will probably never end up with the person that you think you want.
Yeah.
Probably for a good reason.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Words of wisdom from the single
Spuds.
From Spuds.
Story time with Spuds or therapy with Spuds. We'll have to go up with
I
something.
love it. Story time with Spuds.
Grow your garden with Spuds.
You know what it is? Don't plant your bad days with Spuds. My therapist told me that all the time, and I told him to shut up.
Start a new day with Spuds.
So, back to the actual couple of the moment, Cassian and Nesta.
I loved them.
I do too.
Hot.
I just love Cassian.
I want that man bun fighting for me as well.
You know what it is? I like their dynamic.
Yeah, I do too.
Because it's fun.
I like how Nesta is this just formidable badass, and Cassian's not threatened by her. You
That
just
is top.
I love how difficult she is.
yeah, you just
She's
don't,
such a brat.
you just don't see that ever in relationship dynamics. I mean, there's always that sort of brat tamer thing, but Nesta's a whole other beast.
Why I'm still single.
Well, I'm just saying
Headstrong.
I'm not saying you can't meet someone. I'm just saying that you don't often see these types of dynamics where you have two very strong, very confident alpha characters who appreciate and uplift each other and
We have the patriarchy.
are not like they're not competitively threatened by each other's masculinity
You could argue Farrah and Rhys
yeah.
the same way though.
Yeah.
Because they complement.
Yeah.
When one has a weakness, the other has the strength, and that's why it works, and that's why there's no inherent threats.
Yeah.
Because they know how to work. When you say that, I immediately think of Poppy and Castile. Like, that is, like, peak, like, strengths and weaknesses, like, the perfect duo to me.
I do love that couple very much.
Like, that couple is just, like, everything to me.
I still think that Nesta's a little bit different from Poppy.
But I'm just talking about that relationship dynamic. Is
Nesta
that
has no sensitivity whatsoever.
No, none.
She has, what's that, no bedside manner.
Nope.
No. She never will.
No.
Never. We're all like, nope.
No, oh my gosh, it should be that Pedro Pascal meal where it's like bedside manner, and then you see Pedro and it's like, Nesta, no.
Do it.
Never.
This meme. Forever and always, it will never die in my head. So we're watching them with Highburn, and it's not going well.
No,
Yeah, they finally find it. Well, so when Farrah is astro projecting onto the field, she finally comes across Nesta, Cassian, Highburn, and their dad.
Yep.
And that she actually watches Highburn kill their dad while she's astro projecting.
Mm-hmm.
Snapped his neck.
Highburn played dirty. Because Nesta...
It's a battle.
I know, but, like, it still was upsetting. Like, I don't know. I thought he was going to negotiate a little bit, even if he was... Nah, never mind.
He's brutal.
I knew he was going to backtrack
He's
anyway.
also losing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to play dirty to win.
Yeah.
And this is when we kind of see... It's always so funny seeing, like, the cauldron side of Nesta pop up randomly throughout this book, seeing those flares of that, like, silver flame. Foreshadowing. Pop up in Nesta in these moments, and we see it. After her father dies, Cassian's wings are in shreds. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
Another Bat Boy falling apart. She uses some of that cauldron power for the first time. She is so close to blasting Highburn, and it backfires. And she unfortunately uses all of it in one go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we could kind of get into more detail. So when Cassian says that thing, the romantic thing that happens before.
I've got a bookmark. Let me see it. It's so cute. I love it. I have no regrets in this life but this, that we did not have time, that I did not have time with you, Nesta. I will find you again in the next world, the next life, and we will have time. I promise.
Oh.
And he kissed her.
And they finally kiss.
Mhm.
But the King of Highburn has zeroed in on Nesta, and they say that her head tilted to the side and all humanity just pretty much left out of her, and she just kind of went into like a trance almost. So Nesta takes Cassian's sword and like chucks it at the King of Highburn, but misses, and he comes after her, and they end up getting into this little scuffle where she ends up underneath him. But it turns out it was actually a trap that she had put because she needed him close to her, and she just unleashes this crazy white power from the palm of her hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Backs his ass up.
And he dies.
Well,
Elaine.
I got myself.
He is
Shooketh.
shooketh. But before he can make another move on Nesta and Cassian, you hear a gurgling noise, and it is because Elaine has stabbed him from behind in the neck. And
Boss ass bitch move.
yeah,
With Truth Teller, Asriel's sword,
Yep.
little dagger.
And then-
never misses.
And then Nesta, being the badass that she is, she officially beheads Highburn, and then just like does a staring contest with his face for a minute there. And I was like, I told you I was gonna get you.
The fan art for that is really awesome, especially when
I've
they
never
pair it with-
seen it.
with the pointing from the cauldron. People will do the cauldron point where she's in it at Highburn, and then the next shot will always be her holding his head looking at him like
Mhm. I've never seen that. No, I'll have to look that up.
Love it.
And then Feyre is then thrown back to the cauldron.
because Amber
And
is
it's like slapping her, and she's like, "Wake up!" and then Farrah's like, "I'm gonna kill you." And she's like, "That's fine, it's cool. I'm gonna get in the pot anyways." And like, before the Suriel dies, he also tells Feyre that
Tells Amryn the answer lies on the second and penultimate pages of the book, and that together they hold the key.
when Amryn returns from the camp with the stones and bones and stuff, that's when
stands in bed.
says beds, and that's when Feyre discloses that information, and Amryn has the book, so she's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna check it out. So Feyre's still holding on to the cauldron, but she's conscious enough to have this conversation with Amryn, and Amryn's like, look, I'm getting in the pot, because on that page was the unbinding spell, so that would make Amryn back into her true form before she turned into a fae or committed herself into a fae to get out of the prison. So she's going to get in the pot, and she's going to come out her true self.
I love this for her. Sam's glaring at me.
Before she gets in, there's this very tender moment. Varian somehow caught wind of all of this and made it through a battlefield.
It's so sweet.
I guess you could have winnowed.
That made this Varian and Amryn make me feel something, and that's it.
Yeah. So he's like, no, don't go. I love you. And she's like, you know what? I learned a thing or two about love from you. Maybe. Like,
I love her so much.
Such a millennial, like Gen Z reaction
Yeah.
to love. I
yeah,
love it.
it is.
Icky.
She's like, all right,
I'm
so-
gonna get in the cauldron now.
just like nose dives
Avoiding
in.
my feelings. They're here. Goodbye.
So she goes in, she tells Feyre a chant, a spell or something that she has to recite. Feyre does it. Amryn comes out, her true self. And I think we talked about this in an earlier episode about Amryn and how we had seen a TikTok about how someone had theorized she's an archangel, which if you look at the fan art of Amryn, like true Amryn self, whatever, it does look very angelic. She's got wings and stuff, pretty glow to her. She looks fine. So epic.
I can't remember specifically what it was, but when she was talking about her previous life, when they were going into the jail, so I'm assuming Miss Fury, the first time, she was talking about how she was betraying either her like father or like the leader of the group. She was asking questions that she wasn't supposed to, and then she was banished, which is very much kind of like a fallen angel type scenario.
Yeah, very much so.
Not having the blind faith that you're supposed to in that position.
And then being trapped.
Yes.
body.
She also talks about these like two cities falling, which is suspected to be Sodom and Gomorrah, or Gomorrah, I think is how it's pronounced. And so that was another idea or theory. And she does say she was around humans. She says that. She's like, I've watched humans. I've seen them, do all these things for each other and whatnot, and just kind of revels in that and humanity. So she goes in, and we're pretty much winning the war by the aid of Amren. But then, unfortunately, through Amren's unbinding spell, she somehow cracks the cauldron and damages it. And we then find out, because Rhysand shows up, that the cauldron is linked to the creation of their world. So no cauldron.
We didn't just find that out. He just reminded them.
Oh, okay. He reminded us that the cauldron plus Fey world without cauldron equals disaster, star collapsing in on itself.
I also love how Amren coming into her true form could kill the whole world.
Right.
I love her so much.
No.
That makes no sense, though. I'm not even going to get into it. Anyways, cauldron's broken or cracked or whatever. So Rhysand's like, we could fix it. I'm just not going to tell you how. So
And Feyre's like poking at his mental shield, and he's like, nope, we got this. It's fine. We got this, Feyre. LOL.
So she's doing the spell thingy, and he's holding on to her, and he's like, "But just so you know, I love you." And she's like, "Okay, it's fine. I'm finishing up the spell." And the next thing you know, cauldron is fixed, but Rhysand is dead.
Rip.
Yeah.
I have a question. How is him sacrificing himself able to save the world?
How is Amren turning into an angel, breaking a cauldron that represents life and death?
Because she's an archangel.
That created an entire universe, but this one bitch can go in and crack it. Explain that. She came down in a bubble.
I'm gonna stab you.
The theme of this episode, I love chaos. So, and what's funny is that Rhysand's death is on page 666.
No. You think she
Why
planned
couldn't she
that?
end the book at them staring at the broken cauldron?
That would be an interesting ending.
The suspense.
But it would ruin the Christmas story of Frost and Starlight.
I love a cute little Christmas special. So Rhysand's dead, and you know how
You say that so happily.
He's so dead.
Sorry.
well, I'm happy because he comes back because Sarah J. Maas can't let go of anybody to save her life.
Not in this
Except
book.
for Daddy Archer.
Well, like, you think about
Too soon?
you think about the people who did die in this book. It's really
everyone but the main people.
Well, no, I mean, like, yeah, like everyone who's
Not important.
Yeah, Bone Carver, Weaver, potentially those two.
Braxius has disappeared.
Dad. Is that it? I don't really know of anyone else significant who died.
Hundreds of thousands of Illyrians and other unnamed soldiers.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else significant died. Everyone else made it out.
I feel like she threw Daddy Archer on under the bus because she needed to kill a main character, so she went with one that would hit you in the feels.
It did hit me in the feels. It did. The first time I read it.
This is also what they did in Heroes, and that's why the show suffered, because no one actually they would bring on all these new characters. You get really excited, and then they literally all died by the end of the season. It was like, what was the point? They only kept the OGs.
Yeah.
That's a discussion for another podcast episode.
They should have Game of Thrones it and murdered everyone.
Yeah, murdered the best person. I know this sounds awful. I am okay with Rhysand coming back. I am not okay with Amren coming back.
Yeah.
Fuck
Amren.
Not that I'm mad at Amren. I am, but like I still feel emotionally. I think it would have been okay for her to have stayed dead.
It doesn't make sense that she came back.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a story. Like her whole coming back is kind of a stretch for me too.
But then also the way
not Jurian showing up and the dad and Miriam and Draken and Baron all of a sudden deciding he has a change of heart.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, I know I'm not perfect, but neither is this book, so there.
but the real issue is that there was no creativity or imagination on how to bring Rhysand back.
Right.
Like,
Just did the
how-
same thing.
Thing for Feyre in the first book.
But then didn't have the same side effects as Feyre. And
which is
get it.
dumb.
And I get it. So, like, to remind everybody, Rhysand comes back because all the High Lords, including Tamlin and Feyre, representing the Night Court, which is kind of, like, iffy at best if she already has a little bit of everybody, right? That's its own thing. And maybe Feyre being High Lady was the reason why she's technically Night Court, even though she's got a little bit of everything. They all had to donate a little kernel of their power to bring him back.
Yeah.
And hopes. It was like a false hope at this point. They didn't think it was going to work because it was a different ballpark for Rhysand than it was Feyre. But he came back. And the kicker was he didn't take anybody's power.
Can I say something?
How could he know that he didn't take anybody's power?
Yeah, that was the first thing
He's like,
I
oh,
said.
I'm good. By the way, did not freeload.
Don't
on
freak
you
out,
guys.
guys.
Yeah.
I'm me, top to bottom. What were you going to say, Hannah?
Unpopular opinion.
Mm.
He should have died. And she should have become like the full High Lord of the Night Court. And like a new love interest or like something came in to like her. You know what I mean?
Ooh, like Lucian.
Or like maybe he lives in her subconscious or like lives in the mating bond. But like without
Would have been
Ooh.
fun.
I like that idea.
Somebody call me to help me write. I don't want to do any writing. I just want to give ideas for a book.
I will hit you up if I have a million.
I'm okay. Like, it would have hurt, but
I would have been okay because she got everything she wanted from Rhysand.
yeah, like,
Except that baby.
mm-hmm.
Except that little bone carver baby.
Children ruin everything.
They
They
do.
do.
That's why no one liked the pregnancy trope. And also, while Tamlin gives off his little kernel of power, he tells Feyre to be happy. And I have a question.
Yeah.
Between the High Lord meeting and this point in the book, what are your feelings on Tamlin and what he went through in just that section, and how does it affect your overall perception of Tamlin in the series?
In the words of Cardi B from Love and Hip Hop New York, before her teeth surgery, when a bitch has beef with me, she has beef with me forever.
You think Tamlin's not going to let go of this that easily?
I think she shouldn't,
Oh, in Feyre?
because I'm petty.
Mhm.
Oh, so you're like Feyre, huh?
No, I'm Nesta. I don't forgive people.
Because we also saw Tamlin rescue Feyre when she went to go rescue Elaine.
Yeah, sure, whatever. But also, Jurian did the same thing. Do we really forgive Jurian?
It's almost like he thought he was doing the most by doing the least. That's just what it feels like. Like, he did the bare minimum, and it just looks so good because that's all we've ever seen of him.
Oh, yeah, that's really sad.
That's I think my trouble, because it's like I want to be like, yes, like maybe there's a redemption arc here.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot emotionally invest past it at this point, personally.
I also just think it was Sarah J. Maas trying to wrap it up in a pretty bow, and it's like, he didn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't time for that. And later on in this book, we also get where she sends a note back to him that says, I hope you find happiness too, or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. But like, it just seems so insignificant.
Yeah.
And to have him say that at that moment in time, when he's giving it the kernel and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that was so stupid. It could have just been like, we're even.
But it also feels like a really symbolic moment, I guess. Maybe that's why Sarah J. Maas brought Rhysand back the same way Feyre, because it truly ends that cycle, that Tamlin Feyre cycle, in this moment when he chooses not to be petty and brings back his ex-love's mates.
Listening to you guys, I'm okay with Tamlin saying what he said.
I mean, I'm okay
That
with
was quick.
I'm okay with him doing it. I mean, I agree with you, Sam. Like, is he just going to be mad for the next 2,000 years? Like, come on.
No, I just thought it was, I don't know. I think there was so much cliche shit happening that was like the nail in the coffin for me. I was
Icing
like,
on the cake of it.
oh
Yeah.
my God, come on.
We don't really see Tamlin come to a resolution about Feyre, and that's the problem, is we just saw him angry at the High Lord meeting, and he was a total dick. And, I mean, and some of it's almost rightfully so. She did screw him over royally. But, and then we see him, the next time we see him is when she's saving Elaine, and he helps her out. It's hard to connect those two dots.
And he shows up for battle.
Right, and then he shows up for battle with two interns.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He thought he did the most by doing the least because he's been so inconsistent. I think that's what's like,
right.
It's the whiplash, but that's also just Tamlin's MO. It's just that back and forth with everything he does.
You know what it is? I wasn't happy that Rhysand came back, and then he came back, and it was supposed to be a very, like, sensitive romantic moment between Feyre and Rhysand, and I feel like having your ex there just kind of was like, okay.
And being like, okay, I'm doing this for you. You guys be happy.
Like, I'm happy for you. It's like, thank you for your approval.
Yeah, that's, I think, that's the salt in the wound of it all. Yep.
Like, you're together by the grace of me.
Or, like, even that she needed his, like, help at all.
Yeah.
It was weird.
That's what it is.
Like, there should have been a million other ways to bring Rhysand back other than doing the same thing they did in book one.
I mean,
but not having the same results.
I mean, she did have a cauldron next to her that's life and death incarnate. So.
You can't when Amren's chilling in there. You can't fit two bodies.
You could just take Amren out and put Rhysand.
I'm not looking at either of you. That hurt my eyes. So Rhysand
is alive.
He's alive. He's alive. And like you said, Sam, he somehow knows that he didn't steal any powers like Feyre did. Which is, I think it's interesting that he said no thievery when, like, obviously Feyre did not steal anybody's powers, but it's perceived by them that she did.
So it's kind of like a sarcastic remark.
Yeah.
But also, maybe not the best thing to say to people who don't take sarcasm well.
Right.
And are very sensitive about losing their powers.
Right. Especially Baron. Yeah. Like, and that was a big reason why he hesitated with, or like, didn't they force him?
You know what? It shouldn't have been Tamlin not giving the power. It should have been Baron who refused it. That would have been an epic ending.
Yeah. Caused that, like, battle, like, caused that, like, riff in for the next book. That would have been dope.
And let us also circle back to Amren popping up out of the cult.
Yeah, so
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But she's also not her mystical non-Fae self.
She's not, she can't be her old self again. The archangel winged whatever. She can't be her true form again, but she also can't be what she used to be either. So, which I think she looks like the same as that Fae.
She is fully taken on a high Fae form.
Right. So she probably doesn't have that, like, glow in her eyes, right? Isn't that what it is?
She has to eat real food now. No more blood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's no longer of another world.
Yeah.
She chose this world. How cute.
I like Aaron.
I hate it. I hate it. No, I hate it.
Thanks, I hate it.
And then,
great opinions.
So after we're pretty happy about about Amren coming back, the focus then becomes on Daddy, who's
Archer.
Yeah, who died, and his funeral, and they do a not an effigy, eulogy, eulogy, burning body thing. This is also at this funeral. This is where we finally get to, like, talk to Vasa one-on-one
and catch up with Lucian. And his adventure.
It's a better time to do that than a funeral.
Yeah. Like, let's hang out.
We should do this more often.
As Nesta's actually showing feelings.
Yeah, Nesta.
Like, that's great, Nesta. Let's go talk to
Nesta. You know, and I have a theory about Nesta with all of this. Like, I know this, I feel like this is going to sound petty, but I think not only is Nesta grieving her dad because they didn't leave on the best terms, and her dad was trying towards the end, especially for her. I think she might be a little embarrassed that she was that vulnerable with Cassian.
Yeah.
All the scenes after this is she's just like hiding in her room. And it's just, and I'm like, I don't blame her. Like, that's hard to be that vulnerable and that exposed emotionally and then look at this dude. So I'm just, yeah, I could
get behind that.
Yeah.
Like, I know I threw my life on the line, but I never want to talk to you again.
I think that's hard for Nesta to be in that position. And of course, losing her dad when he's trying to make amends. But yeah, I think it's more around Cassian than anything else. But she is noted to be carrying around one of her dad's famous wooden bear figurines.
Do you also think she might be hiding because she might be freaked out by the fact that she, like, we totally just glazed over this. She just shot power out of her hand. Like, we knew something was off, but we didn't know that she had, like, real powers.
Right. And I'm sure, like, I feel like in many ways this whole experience sort of, I don't want to say unleashed, but like matured her in a way, like, or evolved her in a way now that she's like consciously aware. I think throughout all of this book up until now, she's been like suppressing this stuff and like pushing all of these. Yeah, just like keeping it under the surface as best she can, like kind of like a suitcase that's full and just sitting on it.
But she also like didn't know what her power was.
Yeah.
She also wasn't triggered enough to be able to use it either.
Right.
So it was probably simmering under the surface, and Cassian being threatened, watching her father die, knowing that her sisters were probably not going to be far behind. It finally unleashed in a way that she
couldn't bottle it anymore
and didn't have control over.
Right.
Simultaneously.
Right. I will say I am very interested to see her in Silver Flames. I do know, I don't think this is a huge spoiler, that the perspective of Silver Flames is from Nesta's perspective.
From this point, yeah.
Yeah.
Once you know.
I don't think that's a huge spoiler. No. I'm excited to see.
It gets. Sorry.
But we are not reading Silver Flames yet. Next, we are going to read the Christmas special, Frost and Starlight.
Is that what everyone calls it?
Yeah.
Low key,
yeah. I'm sorry, I did skip over a few things. We had a couple other events take place. We had the negotiation with Draken and Miriam. They are going to take the cauldron, because you can't destroy the cauldron. If you destroy the cauldron, you destroy Prithian.
Unless you put the cauldron back together.
Yeah. So Draken and Miriam are going to be hiding the cauldron at their glamored whatever.
Right.
Yeah, where it should be safe over there. And then
do we really trust them?
I do.
I don't think we have any reason not
we don't
to
even know them.
I mean, we don't. They do. God, why
Feyre doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, Feyre
But
doesn't.
they're one of the few impartial magical groups in this world that we're aware of right
Yeah.
No one's ever impartial.
We're gonna find out, aren't we?
Yeah, I guess we're gonna find out. I don't know where else they're gonna put it.
Yeah. Can't trust any of these.
Well, and so they end up having a meeting in their old destroyed home.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is very symbolic, and all the High Lords are there, and they're kind of renegotiating.
It's also Tamlin's first time he sees Lucian in a really long time.
And he's in night court.
He's in night court attire. Is awkward AF.
They don't make eye contact.
But Feyre gives Lucian a note to give to Tamlin, where she basically is like, I wish you all the best. And
I think she just says thanks.
And thank you. Yeah, hope you're happy. Something short, simple,
so dumb.
to the point, like XOXO. Fey Fey. And then we go into, not deeply, but we go into a negotiation of the treaty, and we're working through it with all the High Lords and humans. Grayson is there. They even notate that as well.
And
Yeah.
Can we also just say kudos to Grayson for not dying?
I really wanted him to die. I was pissed about the whole thing.
Elaine deserves that much.
But Elaine's still wearing a ring at the end of the book.
I know,
and she's,
that's why I think they'll still end up together.
No.
What if she goes back into the cauldron and can become human again?
No. I don't think so. Wishful thinking.
Yeah, I agree with Sam on this one. I don't think that's gonna happen.
He wouldn't take her back.
No. No. If he made his dad, no. That's not gonna happen.
But the treaty doesn't get resolved. That's the important thing. It's just the initial discussions.
Yeah. The ball got rolling, but it's still rolling when we leave this book. And I think
we see Nesta start shutting down.
Yeah.
And starting cutting, but we're on the flip side. We're seeing
Elaine flourish,
bloom in the garden.
And she's talking about like wanting to grow things, and after all this death and destruction, she's like,
she wants to have a garden.
Yeah, she wants.
How in depth?
I know. Oh my gosh, not this again. It's a dumb hobby. I get it. It's a dumb hobby. It's like painting and dancing.
Hey, but now she's deep carved.
Yeah.
She's not a wet blanket anymore because she has a garden.
She has plants. she has
a personality.
She has an intricate collection of succulents. So we've got Elaine flourishing, Nesta crashing. Cassian's okay. He's healed up. Azrael's okay. He's healed up. I don't think Moore is really mentioned. I know she's fine, but again,
surprise.
Yeah. And there are 2 additional chapters where we see Rhysand, from Rhysand's perspective.
And who's gonna bring the other person back if they both die? We're supposed to be calling them back for the main
So when they dead, it just dead.
Rip.
Yeah, that's it.
Bye.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen. And yeah, we gotta go. So next time we're actually going to be reading the entire Frost and Starlight. Is a novella. It's a little over 200 pages long. So it is a multiple perspective book. So we're going to see Rhysand. We're going to see Feyre. Elaine? I don't know. I haven't read it. You guys have read
More.
Nesta. Cassian. Azrael.
Well, we're going to find out.
Nawala and Cara Dwyn, maybe? Probably not.
Their own book.
Lucian would be cool, too.
I don't remember.
Doesn't happen.
Never mind. So, final thoughts on this book. I hated it. No. I liked the beginning of it, and I do think, like we talked about, I think it would have been okay if Rhysand and Amren left this storyline. I think it would have been okay if we lost them, but we have them back, so we'll see how that goes. Sam, what do you have for final thoughts?
I think the book could have been parsed down a little bit overall, and I don't mind a happy ending as long as there is a little bit of outside thinking when it comes to things. It's just a little too on the nose, the ending of it was. I don't mind that there was a big battle. I feel like the stakes just didn't match the build-up for me. It's probably my least favorite.
I agree. I don't like that she broke her own rules.
I don't think the hybrid threat was ever severe enough for me.
Yeah.
So then we get into this huge battle. I guess I just don't think I fully grasp why they were fighting.
You know what? Because they never actually lost a battle to Hybern.
Oh, they didn't. Technically, no. They won Adriata.
They won Valaris.
And they won.
It sucked, but they never actually lost in a detrimental way to Hybern.
They all had their personal trauma with Hybern.
Right.
But yeah, you're right.
But not even really with Hybern. It's with Amarantha. Well, who strayed from Hybern.
Well, no, but the end of Mist and Fury.
Yeah.
What happened at the end of... Oh, the Cauldron.
Yeah.
That doesn't warrant a huge battle.
Yeah, that's a personal vendetta.
That's not
Annie took down the wall.
Which is a loss, but I don't know. I feel like the wall, that moment hurt after the High Lords meeting, But there should have been so much more after that. Like, it should have, because he was always like one step ahead of them. Remember with the formations and where they were, they can never figure out where he was. I feel like there should have been other battles that they lost leading up to the official
Or
battle.
infiltrations. I feel like Tamlin could have been wielded a little bit better, a little bit differently as like a double agent. Like, where does his loyalties lie?
Yeah.
Because that was just like a little weird. Yeah, and again, the whole Jurian thing was never fully fleshed out for me.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I would have thought Hybern would have wielded, like, mind control or something and been... Like, I wish that in some situation he would have been able to take control of one of the High Lord's armies.
Yeah.
So that it, like, evens the playing field a little bit. Because Hybern and his beasts, that literally Feyre kills when she's still a human. She killed the Naga and stuff like that. Like, these were beasts that could be killed by a human girl. Like, not even woman. She was... 17, 18, whatever. So I don't know. The battle seemed so huge, but it seems like an easy win. And then it was like, oh no, Hybern's army is coming on the ocean. And it's like, they probably still would have been able to win.
Yeah. I mean, they certainly had a lot of backup. Like, it didn't really feel like that Hybern had the upper hand, because they had Bone Carver, Bryaxis, Weaver, Naval Fleet, Aerial Fleet,
Warrior, 5 High Lords,
Human Fleet,
all of them.
It did, and he just had cooking pot. Like, had like a ton of people. It didn't really seem like he had the upper hand.
He also just didn't wield the cauldron as much as I thought he would have.
Right.
I feel like he would have wielded it more after the wall went down. Like, they should have come to the human realm when they were ready to save people and found everyone dead.
Right. Oh, that would have been good.
That's incentive to win a battle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't understand.
Or take out all the human queens.
I don't understand how she can take, he takes down the whole human well, but he doesn't obliterate all of the humans right next to the wall in the town that she went to go save people.
Yeah, that actually makes sense.
I feel like that would be the first thing you do, is you start annihilating people. You don't just like take down the wall and be like, haha, I did it. And then sit and see what they do.
I think that's what makes... Because I remembered before I'd read Throne of Glass that, like, as a whole, people prefer Throne of Glass across the board.
Because it's real.
Well, and I think it's just because I think as much as I love it, this is not me like shitting on ACOWAR. I do love this series so much. But I think that the series being romance focused, it loses its way in the plot when Throne of Glass is opposite. It is very much an action adventure fantasy with romance as the secondary plot line. And I think that is why we're having those grievances personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, because it's too romance focused.
Yeah.
The plot line doesn't make sense because she breaks her rules so that Feyre and Rhysand can stay alive, so that these people can still be part of it. Like, she literally killed off the people who realistically were only pawns to win the battle in the first place.
Right.
The whole reason why they were introduced, they've like met their purpose, and now that they don't have a purpose, she just killed them off.
Right. I don't think that Sarah J. Maas wanted to cash in on those on the bargains that they had made with the Bone Carver and the Weaver and stuff.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
I want to know what the bargain was that
with the Weaver,
Weaver and stuff. Like, that's all propelling storylines.
Yeah,
that could have not even been to deal with Rhysand and Feyre, but somehow been passed off to other characters,
right?
And stuff like that should have been a more thing where she got the Weaver and made the bargain, and Feyre's like, "You did this without telling me," and Moore's like, you know what I mean? Like,
that's a good idea. I know, that's a really good idea. That would have made more sense.
There was so... you know what makes me frustrated? It's not that I don't like the book.
Yeah.
I know I'm complaining about it a lot. It's that there was so much potential for amazing writing.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you had all of this stuff built up that you've been working on. And it was like you took all of these amazing things. And it's almost like she did it with Crescent City. And so maybe I was kind of expecting her to do it with ACOWAR, where it was like the Easter eggs or like the plot twist that really gets you. You're like, oh my God, this was brought up in book 1 and like chapter 1, and this one thing was said.
I think
this book is missing that really well executed interplay that the first two books have.
Yeah.
The first two books are just
They're
so
good.
so good.
They're really good.
And it's because it is that perfect mix of romance and plot, because you're trying to figure out the mystery of the curse in the first one, and then you're trying to understand the potential looming threat of Hybern in the second one, while Feyre's trying to understand her Fey form and her powers from all the High Lords.
And Amarantha was vicious. I honestly think Amarantha was worse than King Hybern.
Yes.
Which doesn't make any sense to me.
Yep, I agree.
We went to a whole battle and broke the cauldron that would end the world to battle with this guy.
Yeah. We're reading Frosted Starlight next time. That's our next read with me. We're reading the entire book. And I think it's going to be, I'm excited. I also think it's going to be a huge cheese ball.
It's going to be a feel-good book.
Yeah, I think after going through all of this stuff, it's going to be a nice respite from war and death and plot points not going the way they should and breaking the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of funny because I feel like this book breaks the rule when it comes to ACOWAR, because now we're going through a multi-perspective into a brand new perspective. So interesting. It's very interesting.
I did like Frosted Starlight.
I didn't mind it either.
I've heard
it was fun.
I've heard good
I
things.
liked it better than Wings and Ruin.
Oh,
It was nice and refreshing.
Yeah.
all right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. You can follow us on Instagram at confessionstand_podcast for any show updates. Feel free to give us a follow on our Goodreads too to see what we're currently up to. That link is in our bio.
Bye.
Bye.